How's up, Halo fans, and welcome back to the Halo Infinite News channel. I'm your host, MayorReynolds, and today we're going to bring you another story theory, actually. We're going to be talking about the Harbinger. Who is the Harbinger? Not the one from Mass Effect, who some of you probably remember, but there's a new character or entity or somebody going by the name Harbinger who's apparently going to play a pretty important part in Halo Infinite, or at least we think. 343 included a reference to the Harbinger in the 2020 Halo Infinite reveal trailer right towards the end. I'm going to play the footage for you in a minute so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. They don't go into detail. They just say that the Banished and the Harbinger share the same end goal or something like that. I'm going to play it for you in just a second, and then we're going to speculate who this Harbinger is. We've got some hints at who it may be, or is it one person? Is it a force? Is it an organization? Who is the Harbinger? What might they be after? Why are they apparently aligned with the Banished? All that stuff. We're gonna do some speculation. I love doing these type of speculative videos as we get close to Halo Infinite. Kind of do some deep dives. One of my favorite things was the old I Love Bees Halo 2 ARG back in the day. Loved that story. Maybe I'll do a video about that someday. I don't know. But let's take a look for a second at exactly what we're talking about. What is this reference to the Harbinger in Halo Infinite? And what can we figure out? What can we speculate about? So let's take a look right now. Here's straight from the Halo Infinite trailer. Okay, so right here, we're going to look at it. The 2020 8-minute Halo Infinite, infamous, by the way, Halo Infinite campaign demo, the premiere, which, caused the game to be delayed, and all these changes, which we think are going to be for the best in the long run. But here's the exact clip that I'm talking about.
The Harbinger and the Banished share the same goal. We fight together to honor the will of Atriox.
Look at that creepy smile.
Without challenge.
That's all he says right there. The Harbinger and the Banished fight together to honor the will of Atriox. As you all know, or some of you may know, Atriox, leader of the Brutes, of the Banished. I'm not going to get into where he is right now. If you read Shadows of Reach, you can get a little bit of info as to where he is. Basically, Atriox leaves. He leaves some of the other Brutes, Banished Brutes, including Escharum, in charge. And while he took some of their forces and goes on this super secret mission and says, hey, this is your guys' job. And that's that. But this is what this guy had to say about the Harbinger. Let's one more listen.
Harbinger and the Banished share the same goal. We fight together to honor the will of Atriox.
That creepy smile. Okay, so that's what he says. Apparently, the Harbinger and the Banished are allied at this point, which is very early on in Halo Infinite. So what is going on? Who is the Harbinger? I've heard other content creators mispronounce that word, by the way. It's Harbinger. That's it. Pretty simple, I think. Who is the Harbinger? We're going to go through some guesses that I've seen out there. People saying, I think the Harbinger is X, Y, or Z. Who I think it might be, and the arguments to support all of these possibilities. So one thing that I've heard from a lot of people is that they think the Harbinger is either A, Mendicant Bias, and or the Primordial, who have history on Zeta Halo. I don't think this is plausible for several reasons. A, the Primordial, as far as we know, is dead. We do know that the precursors somehow survived. There are a couple of them that have been sent to be seeded in a new galaxy, so to speak. That's in Halo Point of Light, the most recent Halo novel. And Mendicant Bias, the last we really heard of Mendicant Bias was, if you don't know that whole backstory, I have a video about Mendicant Bias, very interesting stuff on this channel. He was actually trying to help the Master Chief in Halo 3 to kind of repent for his old sins. The things when he allied with the Flood, betrayed the Forerunners, all that stuff. So it would be a total. He's already flip-flopped sides once, and then tried to repent for flip-flopping sides. So if he flip-flops sides again, I don't think that's a great story. So I do believe that Mendicant Bias is going to be present in Halo Infinite in some way, shape, or form, but probably not as a primary character. or as a background aspect or presence. Might not even be, you know, more like the ghost of Mendicant Bias, because, you know, one of his old shells is on Zeta Halo. So if he is present, I don't think he's going to be the Harbinger. I don't think he's going to be a huge primary character, though he may be some type of, you know, character on the periphery. If anything, when we're talking about the Harbinger, I do this is massive speculation, but I 100% believe that the Flood are going to be in Halo Infinite. I 100% believe that. Maybe the Harbinger is somehow a new Gravemind, going by the name Harbinger, that who's kind of, you know, duping the Banished, so to speak. Whether it be to unleash the Flood, or somehow he's convinced them that, you know, the Banished to be in cahoots with the Flood. I don't think that's plausible. I could see a new Gravemind communicating with the Banished to kind of dupe them into unleashing the Flood, not coming out and saying, you guys want to unleash the Flood. I would think that the Banished would be smart enough not to do that, but I could see a new Gravemind manipulating the Banished into unleashing the Flood. I have no evidence to support that. I'm just saying that sounds more plausible to me than Mendicant Bias or the Primordial being the Harbinger. Now, the next, I've heard people say, well, the Harbinger could be the Didact. No, absolutely not. The Didact, it looked like he died at the end of Halo 4. He didn't. He was killed off screen again in a graphic novel or comic series by Blue Team. I think the Didact storyline, I liked Halo 4's story, to be honest with you. I liked Halo 4's campaign a lot, but I think the Didact was kind of wasted as a character. I thought he was built up really well in the books, and I thought his arrival in Halo 4, I expected the Didact to be present, basically. The Didact, the Librarian, the Forerunners, to be the main component of the Reclaimer trilogy, which would have been Halo 4, 5, and 6. And they killed the Didact off in Halo 4. I did not expect that. That said, I don't think there's any salvaging that. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think they're going to bring him back again at this point, especially, like, you know, they could say, like, the Didact somehow. Geez, I mean, there were two Didacts technically, but I don't see it. Like, we killed this character, and then, you know, 2 games later, we killed him, and we apparently killed him in Halo 4. Then we killed him in a graphic novel, in a comic series. Oh, now he's back on the periphery, trying to help the Banished to defeat the USNC to get revenge. That would be the storyline, so to speak. I don't see that being satisfying. I don't think a lot of players, especially new players and younger generations, or even old fans, would be super compelled by a new Didact storyline. I think his plot was interesting, but I think at this point it's over. We missed that beat. Let's move on. I don't think the Didact is the Harbinger. Then there's Cortana herself, and there is some evidence to possibly support this, and it could go a couple different ways. So the evidence to support this, by the way, well, we obviously know that Cortana and the Created are going to play a significant role in Halo Infinite and Halo's story going forward. That was where we left Halo 5, and we do know that Halo Infinite is a direct sequel to Halo 5, though it is a spiritual reboot in many ways. But we are going to continue the storylines from Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. So we do know that Cortana is kind of missing, thanks to the new Halo Infinite trailer released during E3 this year, 2021. So could she be, you know, operating kind of, maybe almost went into like hiding, so to speak, and now she's operating under this different alias? And my guess would be there's 2 ways this plays out, right? Either she is using the Banished as a tool of her own. They are just a piece on her chessboard to try to, you know, her goal, she says, is world peace, but or not world peace, galaxy-wide peace, to end war, to end suffering, to end killing. You know, she believes that she and The created have inherited the mantle of responsibility, and it's their job to look out for the galaxy. Maybe in her mind, it's a situation where the ends justify the means, and she's going to use the Banished to basically as a tool of her own. She's manipulating the Banished, and she's eventually going to just discard them, betray them, and move them off the board after she's done with them as part of her grand plan. Could be that situation. Maybe in her rampancy, she just doesn't care. Maybe I shouldn't say doesn't care, but she's just like, screw it. The Banish will work for me. I'm going to let them work for me. Everybody else who opposes, USNC included, be damned. The Banished have now, gotten themselves aligned with Cortana. I don't really think it's going to work straightforward alliance that way. I have to think that Cortana will be manipulating the Banished. If anything, if she and her forces, or her forces are the Harbinger. As of Shadows of Reach, which is the most recent Halo novel, with including, from Blue Team's perspective, the Banished were not referring to her or anybody as the Harbinger. So it seemed at that point the Banished were still scared of Cortana. And we do know that book takes place, but it seems that within about a year. That book took place in, what was it? 2559 that book took place. Halo 5 was 2558. That book takes place in 2559, if I'm remembering correctly. And Halo Infinite takes place in 2560. So things could have changed in that 1 year time frame. Absolutely, they could have. But at that point, the Banished weren't fans of Cortana. And maybe that's why I think maybe she changed her alias, went into hiding, whatever. And is operating from the shadows now to manipulate the Banished. What is her goal? We don't know. That is going to be one of Halo Infinite's biggest stories, right? What has Cortana been up to? The Banished, you assume, are going to be kind of straightforward. We know about them. We know what they're out to do. They're just here to beat us. That's it. Cortana has a bigger agenda than that. The created have a bigger agenda than that. And I assume, we know about the Flood. And they're going to come into play very, very likely in Halo Infinite. So I would guess that the Banished will unleash the Flood one way or another, but will Cortana be behind that? I don't know. It seems like if anything, Cortana, I have speculated in my previous videos that if anything, Cortana will be trying to fire the Halo rings, not the Banished. That's my personal opinion and speculation. There is some about this Harbinger thing. There is some evidence in the Halo games themselves. There's an achievement in Halo 5 Guardians, the most recent Halo game that we have, called Harbinger. And you got that during what you have to do to get that achievement isn't relevant. I don't think you have to keep all the members of Blue Team alive or something like that. But it takes place during there's the achievement's called Harbinger. And this may or may not be directly related, but it's the only real reference in Halo that we know of to the word Harbinger. Right here. Basically, this was the point where Cortana revealed her big master plan. And, all the created were on her side. The AIs were on her side. Kind of brought them all into the fold. It said, ha ha ha. I'm the big new evil villain, Master Chief. You're locked in that cryptum or whatever. See you later. I'm going to remake the universe. That was called, the achievement, one of the achievements for that map level is called Harbinger. So, was that the beginning of Harbinger? Is that what the created are going to be? The created and her forces, are they going to be? How we have the Covenant, the Banished. Is Harbinger going to be her term, her army? So Cortana, the AIs, the created, the Guardians, and anybody else she's conscripted along the way. Who knows, right? I'm sure there's going to be some type of forces or some race or races out there that have probably pledged loyalty or fealty to Cortana and say, yes, we believe in your vision. Who they are, we have no idea, but maybe they're all combined called Harbinger. Maybe that's the new phrase. And then there's the possibility. So I think most likely those are the two most likely options in my opinion. It's Cortana and her forces are called our Harbinger, or it's a grave mind, the new grave mind, whatever, going by the name Harbinger, manipulating the Banished. Or there's a chance that it's some type of new force or entity that we're just not familiar with and we know nothing about. We already have so many players in the Halo universe, and so many that have been barely introduced. When you think of all the Covenant races, the USNC, you know, the Banished, the Flood, the Forerunners, the Created, the Precursors. There's already so many players here. I don't see there being another new force. I mean, Harbinger could be another sect of one of those, but I think we really get into some weird territory when we start breaking down each individual force and then breaking down those forces even more. It gets really hard to follow, especially for casual players. Like, you know, well, the Covenant is over, but there was still this, you know, really religious group of zealots in the Covenant who were, you know, trying to keep the Covenant together. And then we had the Banished, and you know, it just gets all so complicated. So then, what if you had, and you know, within the Forerunners, even though it was such an interesting story to many, you've got, you know, the Didact on his side and the Librarian on her side, and you know, it starts to get really freaking complicated. So I don't think we're gonna have a Harbinger is gonna be a new force. It's got to be something that we're somewhat familiar with, and it seems that 343 included it in that trailer for a reason. They didn't just play out that whole message like, oh, here's just the cutscene, like, enjoy it. You know, it had purpose. It had to include some hints, some significant hints about Halo's story. So this Harbinger thing has to be a big part of Halo Infinite's story. And given that we know Cortana's involved in Halo Infinite, but we still don't know much about how she's involved, how the Flood are likely involved, but we don't know that for sure, and we don't know how they're going to be involved. I think that little hint, Harbinger, has to be about Cortana, or it has to be about the Flood in one way or another. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know who you think the Harbinger is, what theory makes sense, which ones don't, who would you like it to be, what do you think this Harbinger's out to do? Depending, it's going to change depending on who you think it is. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you like these kind of speculative videos, if there's a certain aspect of the story you'd like me to speculate about. Whatever, guys. I'm really enjoying these type of videos, so hopefully you do too as well. If you've watched it, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, help us spread the Halo Infinite gospel, my content, all that stuff. See you in the next video, Halo fans. Thanks a lot. Up there will not be used to dupe my fans into buying.
Spike down mid.